What's up, guys? Today I got 10 more RPGs that are set to come out in 2023. There's no particular order here, so just enjoy the video and check out the ones that interest you. If you haven't seen the first 10 RPGs I posted, make sure you check that video out. I'll link it in the description below. Now, here we go. First up is Legend of Heroes Trails of Azure. Now this is a remaster localization of an old PSP game back from 2011. Falcom, who makes these, the same guys who make like Ys and the other Legend of Heroes games and whatever other couple different series they make, but they put a ton of time into this series, right? There's like, I don't know, at least 3 sets of them. There's the Sky series, the Crossbell arc, the Trails of Cold Steel, which might be what you heard of. This is part of the Crossbell. It's a duology, 2 games. This is the second. So if you haven't played at least the first one in this, you probably want to do that first, right? I know there's like 8 bajillion videos out there telling you which one you have to play first. It's up to you. Just know it is a continuation of the story, and there's a lot of things you miss if you don't play it in order. Now, you can still do that. I started Trails of Cold Steel, and it's fine. It's fine. So, it's up to you, but just recognize that you're jumping into this middle of a long series, and, so that's what's going on. But in this game, you're playing as Lord, you're continuing. This is the second game in that Crossbell duology, and it has a cool, unique turn-based combat system. You got a good story. You stay in that Crossbell area. There's a lot going on, right? As with every Trails game, tons of world building, tons of character development. Sometimes it can feel a little slow depending on how you like your stories told. But I mean, if you're looking at this game, you probably have a good idea of what kind of games you like, the RPGs you like, and very good chance you might have already played the other ones. So, but if you haven't, this looks good. Check out the series and find a good one to start. Either Trails from Zero, which is the first of these 2 games, or Trails of Cold Steel. Those are more accessible right now because they're on more modern platforms. But if you have a PC and you want, you can start back at the Sky series. That's the very beginning, and hop on that. So anyway, this game comes out March 14th for the PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. Now the PS5 version is just backwards compatibility, right? If anything's out on PS4 can be on PS5. Yeah, okay. So anyway, have fun, enjoy. All right, next up we have Record of Agarest War. Now this game has been out for a while on PC, so just be aware of that. But it is fresh coming this year to the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is kind of a unique, interesting take on a strategy RPG, okay? The way this game works is as you move your characters in battle, they have kind of like a grid behind them of specific like tiles, right? Because this is kind of, Final Fantasy Tactics-esque, where you move around tiles on the board, and then your abilities and attack and whatever, right? But each character has like a set of tiles that are connected to them. And so as you move and you set your characters in those spaces, and when I attack with one character, then it will link to all those who are in the tiles next to them, even if their regular attack couldn't hit. And so a lot of this game is the strategy of setting up characters in such a way that they all connect. And so then when they attack, they all are attacking each enemy. And so it's kind of unique and different that way. Now, the story gets a little wackadoodle. It's not bad, I don't think, but it's still a little wacky. So that might not be your tea. It's definitely like kind of, it's compile hearts. So it's kind of into that otaku, stuff. So if you like that stuff, then this game's for you. If you don't, just be aware, you might just end up skipping some story. One interesting mechanic of this game, though, is that you actually, as you play the game, you develop, there's like, I think 3 choices of like a romance option, and you actually kind of have to engage in that. You can't just ignore it. And the reason why is because part of the way the game works is at a certain point, you stop being the protagonist, I think it's Leonhardt, and will become the son of you and whoever your chosen partner is. and then you continue the game from there. So that's kind of unique and different. But if you don't like romance stuff or romance options and that kind of thing, it's probably in the game for you. But it is a cool strategy RPG. I like the combat, it's pretty fun. So, you know, give and take, I guess. The loop of this game is super fun. It's well worth a try, I think. So you can give it a shot on PC now, or you can wait till it comes out on Switch this month, March 9th. All right, switching gears a little bit, we're talking about Lies of P. Now, if you haven't seen the trailers, make sure you check those out. We got some running right now, but this game is probably the closest thing we'll ever have to Bloodborne 2. If you're a Bloodborne fan, then that should get you excited right there. This is the Souls formula, but fit into like the Pinocchio world, which is weird. That's something I never thought I'd say. What? But this game looks pretty cool. Like, you combine like the melee combat of something like Bloodborne or some Dark Souls, right? But then he's got interesting mechanics with his left hand. So you'll see if you watch the trailers, he'll be like swinging swords or whatever, and then all of a sudden he'll kind of hit fire. It's not like magic, it's like different like machines or parts that you change out for your arm, and so you can do that to different things. And they've mentioned things like the fire, like a grappling hook, like all these different kind of things. And so that could be really interesting. Kind of reminds me almost like Bioshock. You know, you got different powers in that hand and would do different things. So we'll see how that turns out. But every trailer you watch, this game looks awesome. I don't know about the story. Like, I don't really get what it is, if it's like you're Pinocchio trying to become a real boy, or if like Geppetto has become crazy and you're breaking, it looks like you're fighting all of his machines, or maybe like the things he's made have gone crazy. I mean, who knows? They haven't really told us. It's weird to be in the Pinocchio universe for a Souls game, but I guess it's as good a topic as any. I mean, how do you pick one for Souls? Who knows? But it's cool. Look, it looks awesome. It's supposed to come out for the PlayStation, the Xboxes, and PC this August. So, you know, keep an eye out. It looks cool. I'm pretty excited about it. So anyway, hope you enjoy that. If you are interested in Souls games, I'm sure you got your eye on this one. All right, next up is Trinity Trigger. Now this is an all-new kind of action role-playing game, but it's combining the look and feel from the 90s with more like Secret of Mana kind of, and then puts it into more modern face, you know, fast-paced, customizable combat, that kind of thing. You play as Cyan, and you're a young man who's given the title like Warrior of Chaos. And there's a Warrior of Order, so of course, you know, that's gonna go down. There's stuff about gods and trying to control, and you go on this big adventure to kind of beat your fate, right? That's very fitting for that kind of 90s style RPG. This was very close to going in an art style that I would never play, right? I'm not a huge chibi fan with the giant heads. I know some people love that and think it's cute, and that's great. I don't have a problem with it. It's just not really my thing. But this is kind of more, you know, like a new age Secret of Mana style, right? So it's got it almost looks like a bit of cell shading and stuff, but the characters are still proportional for the most part, and that matters to me. I actually don't think it looks bad. It kind of reminds me of like Alive or something in the way that art style was presented. It actually looks pretty cool. Combat looks decent. You know, hopefully the story carries it, because obviously the visuals are an older style. I still think it's pretty beautiful, but you know, you got to see what you like. But this game comes out April 25th, I believe. If you look it up, there's like 800 dates for it, and I don't really understand, but it looks like it's April 25th for the PlayStations and Nintendo Switch. But there's also like a May date, and maybe that's for PC. It's hard to tell. So, you know, if you're interested in this, make sure you keep an eye out. I'm sure you're probably looking at like Switch. This is a kind of Switch game. I tend to play everything on the PlayStation or PC, so you know, if I get it, it'll be on the PlayStation. But make sure you keep an eye out for it. If this catches your attention, looks like it could be pretty fun. All right, now we're switching up the tone a lot. We are looking at Diablo IV. Now, this is the newest game in a long-running franchise, and I started playing with the first one because I'm old, okay? And I played the first one a ton. And then we got to the second one, and Diablo 2 was amazing. Just blew everything we had known up to that point out of the water. It was so good. The story and the movement and the fighting and the progression, it was so good. Now, then when 3 finally came along, I was grown up and starting to do different things and kind of off on my own. And so I did play it for a long time. And when I finally did, while I enjoyed it, it just didn't feel the same, and I couldn't tell, right, was it the game or if it was me being in a different place. But whatever it was, it just didn't check with me, right? I just didn't like it. And so I left that off and stopped playing it. But Diablo is an action RPG, right? It's a loot-driven, like the looter shooter, right? Where everything you break in is dropping stuff. There's stuff everywhere. You're breaking things and you're getting gear and you're getting upgrade materials and you're getting, you know, new weapons and old weapons and whatever. Now the difference here is that in every other Diablo game before this, you just picked from a couple of characters, classes, whatever, and that was your character, right? I think a lot of times, sometimes you couldn't even name them. I don't remember. Maybe 3, but you don't, you know, it's not really yours. It's like one of these classes you use. Diablo 4 changes that up, and I think that's genius. It is your character. You customize them. You customize the way they look. So you still have the class system. You pick one of the classes, and then you customize the character to look the way you want. And that is the right call. Now, not everyone will care about that, but you can always just use a preset, and it doesn't matter. But for people who do, if you're gonna spend 1,000 hours in a game, which a lot of people do for these, then having a customizable character where you make them your own, make them look like you want, make them, you know, your name, whatever. And so when you're running around and getting armor, you feel like you're collecting it for your person. I think that's the right call. Yeah, Diablo, the story looks characteristically dark, and I'm all for it. I think it could be really good. Now, sometimes they try to take it too far, you know, but it's Diablo. What do you expect, right? So I'm excited. It looks polished. It looks good. I'm pretty stoked. So that comes out, I believe, June 6th. So look out for it there on the PC, the PlayStations, the Xboxes. All right, next up, we're gonna switch gears again, and we're looking at Loop 8. Now, obviously, the art style is a little bit different, right? But Loop 8 is kind of this unique RPG where it's like half relationship sim and half turn-based RPG. Okay. Now, the difference here is that those are kind of separate. But this takes like the Persona idea that your relationship level affects combat and just amps that up, right? And so as you develop relationships with these other characters, the bonds that you guys have directly affect how strong you are in combat. And so if you're not leveling up your relationships, then you're not going to be strong enough in combat. That's kind of different. It's unique. It could be total crap, but it could be pretty cool. I mean, who knows? Again, this kind of fits, slide into that otaku type stuff. But if it can ride that line, it's going to interest a lot more people. The truth, though, is, I mean, this is probably more of a, you know, what we call ourselves weebs or whatever, right? That like that super anime stuff. This is probably only going to fit for those people. But you never know. Maybe someone else will be interested. Maybe you're not typically into that stuff, but this looks fun. But it actually looks pretty fun. The combat itself looks interesting. I do like that they're really incorporating that mix. The relationships aren't just a side thing, or the combat's just to get into the relationships. Like the relationship stuff feeds the combat, and it looks like the combat when you fight with people or whatever that you take along on your team, that kind of helps buffer those relationships as well. So it's a good play on each other. So this could be kind of cool. We'll have to see how it does, but it comes out for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC sometime this year. All right, next up, we're going dark again. Bleak Faith Forsaken is a new Souls-like set in this cyberpunk dark fantasy world. Now, this is an indie game made only by 3 guys. This action RPG looks pretty mysterious and intriguing. The bosses really enrapture your attention. They have some of these bosses, I mean, just look at them on screen, that just are crazy looking. They're really sick. And so, you know, that really draws me right away. The combat looks heavy and it's supposed to be really hitting. They talk about some survival elements, although we don't really know for sure, but that's said in the game, and so we'll see what that includes. But this is coming out soon. This comes out March 10th. So keep an eye out for that. And if you want to know more about this game, I have a much deeper dive on the channel. So I'll link that in the description below. Check it out. Next up, we're talking Advance Wars. Now this is the reboot of an old series, but this is 1 and 2, and it was announced last year, but because the war started, which we're not going to get into here, it kind of put a damper on the game, and so Nintendo decided to delay it out of the year, and then they finally announced it again at their direct at the beginning of this year, and it's coming out this April. It's got a super cool, like, cartoon-esque art style. It looks kind of a Saturday morning cartoon, but it has kind of a Fire Emblem vibe where you move on the tile system, and then when you get into combat, it kind of shows into like the screen, right? I think like Wargroove did it this way too. But it looks fun. It looks happy and joyful. The colors are super vibrant. You're using, you know, all your normal. You got boats. You got guns and helicopters and tanks and whatever. And you move around and fight each other. And you're trying to, you know, you're being the good guys, and this war is happening, and you're trying to figure things out. And so it looks super fun. I'm sure the story will be heartwarming. You know, the characters are full of charm and character, and so, you know, keep an eye out for this. It looks pretty enjoyable. It looks pretty fun, and it comes this April, so keep an eye out. Next up, we're talking about Atlas Fallen. Now, this is a new action RPG from Deck 13, and that's the guys. They've been pretty active lately. They brought us Chained Echoes, and they're also working on the Lords of the Fallen. So they got a lot going on. This game looks really cool. It looks like it's a hunting game. So think Wild Hearts or Monster Hunter, that style. Maybe a little bit more RPG. There's more story, they say. We'll see when it comes out, but that's supposed to be the deal. And so you got this. You make your own character. It's in the sand dunes, right? So something happened in the world where all the sand came in and covered up everything, and you're trying to figure it out. But you somehow have these powers to kind of manipulate the sand, and so that actually feeds into your weapon system. You make weapons out of the sand, and so I think you must like find chunks of enemies or something, you know, following that Monster Hunter formula, and you use that to make new weapons and armor and stuff like that. Now, this is a fully cooperative story campaign, which fits. Again, Monster Hunter, you can do it that way too. Hopefully this one's a little easier than that, either where you can do the RPG stuff together as well, or more like Wild Hearts where you can just jump in. But we'll have to see when it comes out. We don't know a ton about this game. They've said they're going to release like a trailer that's more gameplay and stuff, but so far that hasn't come out yet. They did say the release date is May 16th. It's going to be for current gen consoles and PC only, so no Switch or last gen. So just know that ahead of time. But it's got a cool look. It's got me interested. The release trailer was just a tiny video on Twitter, so that's kind of interesting. But you know, I mean, there's some real possibility with this game. It looks cool. It looks flashy and fun, but we got to see more, right? And so hopefully that'll drop. When it does, I'll make sure that I do some video on it, and we'll talk about it then. But keep an eye out for it. Hunting games are pretty cool. I really enjoy Monster Hunter, and I really enjoy Wild Hearts. So, you know, if you like those kind of games, make sure you keep an eye out for this. And once we know more, I'll let you know. All right, last game for today, we're talking about Sacrifire. Check this out. This indie RPG is inspired by the games of the 90s, much like another on the list. But this goes back to the kind of that pixel art, and man, it looks awesome. It's got not quite the HD 2D look, but close. You know, almost like a 2.5D. It's got an interesting mixed combat system where it's both real time and turn-based. The story is supposed to be a deep narrative that's gonna grab you in and pull on your heartstrings. The art style, I just think, is beautiful, and you know, not everyone loves pixel art, and especially nowadays that's maybe overdone a little bit. But I think this game looks awesome, kind of right in line with that, you know, Ayuden Chronicle and Sea of Stars and that kind of thing for these indie pixel art games. But man, people really figuring this out. I just think it looks so good. So make sure you keep an eye out for it. You know, you can wishlist it on Steam. Make sure you do that. That's really helpful for the developers. It's on Kickstarter, but it already way surpassed its goals. I don't know if you can still hop in or not. I have to look into that. Maybe I'll do a video on this one later and we can talk about it there. But this game just looks cool to me. I love the art style. I love the idea of the story. I love the way this game looks and the combat looks. And so I got my eyes on it. I'm really excited for this one. So, you know, make sure you keep your eye out on it. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you liked the game, found a game you didn't know about or whatever, make sure you hit the like button. That does a lot for me. It's very helpful and, you know, it means a lot to me. Also, if you like videos like this, I got list videos. We take deep dives into some of these games and we do have some reviews and first impressions on games. And so if that's the kind of stuff you like, make sure you think about subscribing, right? We can do this together. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.